All right, welcome back everyone to another explainer. Today we're tackling a massive operational bottleneck that plagues companies of literally all sizes. It's a personal favorite headache for pretty much any finance team out there, manual invoicing. We're going to break down exactly how you can completely automate your invoice issuance by seamlessly connecting your ERP directly to an electronic invoicing app. Okay, let's dive into this. So here's our roadmap for today. We're hitting the big picture, architecture, the 8-step flow, translation and triggers, guardrails, and finishing up with real-world applications and the future.
Starting right off with Section 1, the big picture.
Let's be real for a second. Manual invoice creation is just a massive headache. It inherently relies on humans constantly exporting sales data from an ERP and painstakingly re-entering it into another system. And you know what that means, right? Duplicate data entry, human errors, massive delays, and some seriously scary compliance risks. But by connecting your ERP directly to your invoice application, you issue those invoices instantly. You literally eliminate that manual work, absolutely ensure tax compliance, and create a pristine, complete audit trail. So it's not just about saving time, it's about fundamentally securing and accelerating your entire financial operation.
Moving on to Section 2, architecture. Let's talk systems integration. To understand how these distinct systems communicate, we kind of need to know what they actually do. Your ERP system, think SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, or NetSuite, is the ultimate source of truth for your sales transactions. It holds all the customer data, the sales orders, inventory, accounting info, the whole shebang. On the flip side, the invoice application is a total specialist. It doesn't care about your warehouse inventory. It cares about invoice templates, applying digital signatures, generating XML and PDF files, and communicating directly with tax authorities for compliance. So we have two distinct specialists that need to work together flawlessly. But here's the secret. Large companies rarely, if ever, connect their ERP directly to the invoice application. It's just too messy. Instead, they use middleware. Middleware is this crucial integration layer. Think of tools like MuleSoft, Zapier, Apache Kafka, or Azure Logic Apps. This layer basically acts as the ultimate translator and traffic cop. It sits right in the middle, handling data validation, system authentication, logging, and error handling. It essentially keeps your heavy ERP from getting bogged down and makes sure the invoice app only ever receives perfectly formatted data.
Which brings us to Section 3, the 8-step flow. Let's look behind the scenes.
Now we're zooming in on the exact mechanical data flow that happens seamlessly, and I mean in just a matter of seconds. Let's walk through the first half of this transaction. Step 1, a sales order is officially completed in the ERP system. Step 2, that completion acts as a trigger, telling the ERP, hey, it's time to create an invoice. Step 3, the ERP gathers all the necessary data, like customer details, line items, totals, and packages it into a neat digital format, which is usually a JSON payload. And then Step 4, the ERP, or that middleware we just talked about, takes that payload and calls the invoice application's REST API. Basically, it's knocking on the invoice app's front door, handing over a package of data, and asking it to do its job.
Okay, continuing that flow, Step 5, the invoice app answers the door and validates the data. It's checking mandatory fields, customer tax IDs, and digital signatures. Step 6, once validated, boom, the official invoice is generated, typically as both a PDF and a structured XML file. Step 7, the invoice app sends critical information right back to the ERP, like the official invoice number, the issue date, the PDF URL, which the ERP then stores for its own records. And finally, Step 8, the customer automatically gets an email with their shiny, new, fully compliant invoice. This entire 8-step dance, it usually takes only a few seconds. No way humans can compete with that.
Section 4, translation and triggers. Timing and mapping are everything.
Let's dive into the technical nuances of how these two very different systems actually learn to speak the exact same language. Because the reality of integration is that systems almost never use the exact same vocabulary. And this is where data mapping comes in. It acts as a digital dictionary. Your ERP might label a piece of data customer ID, but your invoice application strictly requires a field called buyer code. The ERP says VAT, the app expects tax rate. If these aren't perfectly mapped in your middleware, the API call will absolutely fail. Setting up this one-to-one translation correctly is literally the foundation of a reliable automation.
Then there's the other side of the coin, timing. When exactly should that invoice be generated? Well, you have to choose a business trigger that perfectly aligns with your specific accounting policies and tax regulations. For example, if you sell physical goods, delivery completed is a super common trigger. If you run a manufacturing plant, it might be when a goods issue is posted. For consulting, it's when a service is completed. And for modern software or subscription businesses, the trigger is usually the exact moment payment is received. Identifying the right trigger makes sure you're recognizing revenue exactly when you are legally supposed to.
All right, Section 5, Guardrails. How we handle errors safely.
Because let's face it, things inevitably go wrong in tech. Integration isn't always smooth sailing. So let's rapid fire through some common challenges and the technical guardrails we use to solve them. Challenge 1. Duplicate invoices. You fix this using item potency keys and unique transaction IDs. They basically act as a digital bouncer, guaranteeing that even if a request is somehow sent twice, the app only lets one invoice through. Challenge 2. Tax code mismatches. You resolve this by centralizing your tax master data. Challenge 3. Internet outages. If the API is down, your middleware needs to use exponential backoff, which just means automatically retrying the request at increasing intervals until it actually succeeds. And finally, if you issue thousands of invoices a day, you manage that huge volume asynchronously using message queues, just so you don't accidentally crash your ERP.
And look, alongside keeping things running, security is absolutely non-negotiable. You're dealing with highly sensitive financial and customer data here. All API communication has to use HTTPS. Authentication should rely on robust standards, like OAuth 2.0 or mutual TLS. Your customer data must be encrypted both in transit and at rest. You also need to implement strict role-based access control, or RBAC, to limit exactly who can interact with these systems. And perhaps most importantly for your sanity during an audit, you must maintain detailed audit logs of every single API request, response, error message, and retry count. Trust me, if an auditor comes knocking, those logs are going to be your absolute best friend.
Section 6. Real World and the Future. Let's see this in practice.
Let's zoom all the way out and see this automation in action with a real manufacturing example. Imagine a massive manufacturing company running on SAP. A sales rep out on the floor clicks Confirm Delivery. Let's watch the timeline. Second 1, SAP marks the order complete and publishes an invoice request. Second 2, the middleware catches it, validates it, and transforms the SAP data into the exact format needed. Second 3, the invoice app receives it, creates a digital signature, and submits it straight to the government tax authority for approval. Second 4, the provider sends back the official XML and PDF, the middleware updates the SAP dashboard so finance sees it instantly, and the customer gets an email with their invoice. 4 seconds. Zero manual data entry. Total compliance. It's kind of amazing.
But here's the crazy part. This level of speed is just the baseline today. Let's take a really quick look at what the future holds for B2B transactions, because it's evolving fast. Organizations are already shifting toward fully event-driven architectures using message brokers. They're deploying AI-powered validation to spot anomalies and errors before an invoice is ever even issued. And they are relying on these cloud-native integration platforms that automatically scale up during massive peak sales periods, think Black Friday, and then scale right back down to save money when it's quiet. These financial systems are just getting smarter, way more resilient, and surprisingly much cheaper to operate.
And that brings us to the core philosophy behind everything we've covered today. The idea is simple. When a sale is successfully completed, the invoice should be generated automatically, recorded back into the ERP, and delivered to the customer with minimal delay. The technology to do this securely and instantly isn't science fiction. It's readily available right now. So I want to leave you with this question to chew on. If your business suddenly doubled its sales volume tomorrow, would your current financial operations effortlessly scale with it, or would your manual processes just completely buckle under the pressure? Think about it. Thanks for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.